ultimately, is to enjoy nature and love people. I tell my kids, enjoy nature and love people. And that's all that you ever have to do, and I am willing to face any almighty that might exist. And secondly, if God doesn't exist, which I believe about half the time, when I die I will turn into peat moss. And I will be dead, not just a long time, but forever.
My response to that question would be, yes, I certainly do think I'm a wicked sinner before a holy, righteous God, but I've been forgiven based on the blood of Jesus Christ, not based on my good works. If you'd uncover the projector just for a minute, here's what Thomas Huxley said. I'm sorry, Julian Huxley. That one's out of focus. Can you, that one there? He said, Julian Huxley is the grandson of Thomas Huxley, who really promoted Darwin. Huxley said, I suppose the reason we leapt at the origin of species was the idea of God interfered with our sexual mores. Well, there's an honest comment. Okay. Michael Ruse, former Christian, said evolution is promoted by its practitioners as more than mere science. Evolution is an ideology, a secular religion, a full-fledged alternative to Christianity with meaning and morality. He said, I'm an ardent evolutionist and an ex-Christian. But I must admit that in this one complaint, and Mr. Gish is but one of many to make it, the literalists are absolutely right. Evolution's a religion. This was true of evolution in the beginning, and it's true of evolution still today. So it's something people believe in. It's not something they have real scientific evidence for. I think that as far as what happens when we die, we're going to stand before a holy, righteous God and give an account for everything we've said, done, or thought about. And if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, I would fear that day. Okay?
Okay, we're talking about the Big Bang Theory. And my way of thinking about that whole thing is very simple, philosophically. If the Big Bang occurred, and I think there's tremendous evidence to support empirically that it did take place, scientists are completely, totally, 100% incapable of explaining why it happened. As is the case with a huge number of things in science that we still can't explain. Science is always trying to explain things. And so you're asking kind of a metaphysical question. And
where did that come from?
Yeah, well, half the time I'd say God. And the other time I'd say we don't know. You know, I tell people the three most important words in the English language. What are the three most important words to use in the English language? Answer, I love you. Okay? Now, what are the second most important three words to use in the English language? I don't know. That's my philosophy of life. And metaphysically, the Big Bang physicists and the theologians are in metaphysically exactly the same boat, because they both have to explain either how something was always here, either a universe or a God, or they have to explain how something came into being ex nihilo, out of nothing. Both philosophies share exactly the same problem.
I can show you what the textbooks teach. This is Discover magazine last year. Where did everything come from? He says here, the universe burst into something from absolutely nothing. Zero. Nada. As it became bigger, it became filled with even more stuff that came from absolutely nowhere. How is that possible? Ask Alan Guth. His theory explains everything. Well, Alan Guth said in Scientific American, he said, the observable universe could have evolved from an infinitesimal region. That's a dot. He said it's then tempting to go one step further and speculate that the entire universe evolved from literally nothing. That's what they teach. Now, I tell them, you're welcome to believe that. I don't care what you believe. But that's not science. And it shouldn't be taught in the textbooks at taxpayer expense. Okay?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, that's got nothing to do with science, and that goes in metaphysical. But several questions weren't answered earlier. And I do appreciate Dr. Rainbow coming tonight. I've been turned down over 3,000 times for debates. Professors simply won't debate it. They want to stand in front of their class where they have an obvious academic and psychological advantage over their students. But it's very rare to find one willing to defend his position in front of somebody over which he doesn't have his thumb on. He has no control over me whatsoever. He's not going to give me a grade. I'm not the least bit afraid of him. And students in his class are going to face this for the rest of the semester, though. tomorrow morning he's going to get to teach his view for an hour to a group of kids, and then the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And I think it's only fair that students get to see both sides. And I'll be willing to come speak at your college class anytime. If I'm out in the area, give me a call, or come share the creation view. Thank you so much.
It's a great question, and here's the answer. I want you to all think about what you would have to do to see macroevolution taking place today. Us evolutionists are completely confident. We're 100% sure, as sure as he is that Christ died for his sins. We're sure that evolution is taking place constantly all over the earth. Why don't we see it? Think about this. If you wanted to observe macroevolution, if you wanted to see a pretty big change taking place from one species to another, where on earth would you go to have the highest probability of seeing it? And the answer is a rainforest. You saw the picture of the Costa Rican rainforest with me in there? You'd want to go to a rainforest. And the reason why is because tropical rainforests contain arthropods, insects. Okay, there's millions of them. It's not impossible, there may be 30 million species of insects on this planet. Most of them haven't been discovered yet, okay? And we know that insects are a veritable playground for evolution. They seem to evolve very rapidly, okay? So if ever you had a chance to see macroevolution, it would be in a rainforest. You got all these insects evolve rapidly, that's the place to go. You with me? Okay, now, so there I was in a Costa Rican rainforest, and looking for macroevolution, quote unquote, and sure enough, I didn't find it. Why? Well, you remember the pictures of the butterflies? There you saw some pictures of butterflies. If I go down there and I discover a brand new butterfly, totally radically new butterfly that no one's ever seen before, okay? What do I do? What do I do epistemologically? Is that a brand new butterfly that just evolved yesterday? It may be. I'm totally confident that new butterflies are evolving all the time down there. How do I know? There may be 1 million species of butterflies on this planet that just haven't been discovered. And then the second thing is to document that it was evolution. What else do you have? What do you really have to see? Think of my central mechanism of evolution thing. Mutation in the germline cells of a parent, right, leads to altered embryological development, which shows up in the offspring, right? So what would you have to do to verify that it's a newly evolved butterfly?
You have to have faith.
No.
The parent and the offspring.
No, that's not the right answer. What would you have to do?
They're both at the same time.
It's an empirical scientific question. You'd have to find the parents. You have to find the parents and show that the parents look different from the offspring. Well, what are your chances of finding the parents of a butterfly in a Costa Rican rainforest? See, so we're in a situation similar to 100 years ago, you look at the moon. Okay, the moon looks spherical. The moon probably has a backside. You could come up to somebody and say, do you think the moon has a backside? Well, yeah, I think so. We'll prove it. See? You know darn well it has a backside, but you're totally incapable of proving it. We know darn well that macroevolution is taking place on other grounds that I don't have time to talk about, but we are in fact completely incapable of proving it for the reasons that I've just given you. Okay?
Okay, and I think that demonstrates clearly what I've been saying all night. It's a religion. It's not a faith. I mean, it's not a science, okay? It's easy to think the moon has a backside because of the impossibility of the contrary, okay? All round objects that we see have backsides to them. Now, the idea that there's not a creator is clearly impossible. Things are just too complex. There had to have been a creator. As far as the original question of going from dinosaurs to birds, if you could undo the covers there, please. There are thousands and thousands, possibly millions of differences between reptiles and birds. And he's glossing over these gross differences. The lung structure, you mentioned about the bone structure. Bones are hollow on birds and solid on reptiles. The lung structure is different. The eggs are different. The reproductive system is different. There are thousands of major differences and probably millions or billions of minor differences. Reptiles are covered with scales, birds are covered with feathers. They're both made of keratin, but that's where the similarity stops. They come from different genes on the chromosome. Feathers are extremely complex. Your hair is made of keratin, your fingernails are made of keratin. The fact that different structures in the world are made of keratin on different creatures is proof the designer is using the same material for different applications. Just like battleships and forks and tin cans are all made out of iron, that doesn't prove a relationship. It proves iron's a good metal to make a lot of different things out of, and keratin's a good protein to make a lot of things out of. It's not at all evidence of relationship, it's evidence of design.
The second law of thermodynamics is antithetical to evolution because order cannot arise out of